Joining me from Chief Executive Women is Susan Metcalf, CEO, and it is a pleasure to have you joining us today.
Pleasure to be here.
Great, thank you. Susan, I'd like to kick off just by understanding from your point of view, what challenges has the pandemic brought to the membership of Chief Executive Women?
Yeah, it's been a very trying time for everybody, hasn't it?
Yeah.
The pandemic's had impact across the community, and that the women who are members of CEW are no exception. The CEW is a membership organisation for women who are very senior, very influential, and at decision-making levels of their organisations. So throughout the pandemic, they've carried extremely high levels of responsibility, both in terms of their organisations, but also caring for their teams. One of the key attributes of CEW is, as a membership organisation, the connections between members are really important. And so through this pandemic time, many of them have leaned on one another for support or been able to access the sorts of support and networks that they've wanted. So it's been quite an important moment, I think, for people to know who they can rely on and who they can reach out to. And in our instance, that's one of the great opportunities that Salesforce and the work that we do as a membership organisation have enabled us to do.
And so how have digital solutions aided you in gaining and nurturing membership?
So we're an invitation-only organisation. So people have to meet a membership criteria and they are invited to join when they reach those most senior levels of organisations. The digital solutions that we have around membership, we do have the Salesforce database that sits behind and allows us to manage our interaction with our members. And we also have a member hub that is enabled by Salesforce. The member hub has access to a lot of events, information, and to other members on it. And behind Salesforce, we also use we use communication channels that are enabled by Salesforce. So neither of those two things would we have been able to do without the right digital solution.
Have you seen changes in levels of engagement or types of engagement from members during this time?
A really good question. Particularly early in the pandemic, we used online events quite a lot just to reach out with information to people. We have an incredible network that has knowledge across the community in all kinds of places, from business to government to academia. So we were able to bring a lot of that information together, particularly early in the pandemic. And we found amongst members there was a great drive to gather that information, hear other people's experience, understand what others were doing, and to be able to take that information back themselves and make decisions about their own business. So early in the pandemic, certainly very highly engaged around that knowledge gathering and sharing piece. Later in the year, we ran a major event online. We normally have, as part of our fundraising, a very significant dinner every year in Sydney. We went to an online event this year at very short notice, and again, enabled by the digital tools, we did that, and resulted in very wide reach across the community, broader than we would normally reach in our membership base. So we had some 4,000 people online for that event. So it was a very exciting event and a great impact for us, and a great opportunity for us to not only express support to the more general community, but for them to hear some very key messages from CEW. As we've gone on in 21, engagement has continued, and particularly in specific areas of interest, so around particular topics. In the last few days, for example, we've been talking to members about different policy and advocacy topics, and in roundtables that we've been able to bring together by reaching out and inviting all our membership base and bringing them into a digital platform to talk about issues that are very timely and important at this moment in time, related to both government regulation, things like vaccine rollout, health issues, how are business dealing with different things, what should government be thinking about, what should we as CEW be thinking about, how do our members need support. So the nature of that engagement over the period of time has changed. I would not say the level of engagement has changed, because people have been very motivated to be connected.
Wow, that's really interesting. Did you used to do roundtables on topics of the moment prior to the pandemic and the move to digital?
It's something we've done increasingly over time, and it's certainly a topic of interest for our members. In the past, we would have come together face to face. But the move to digital, although it's thrust upon us like everybody else, has meant that we've been able to bring different groups of people together rather than in that face-to-face interaction. Now we can have a national platform and somebody from WA and somebody from Queensland and somebody from Victoria all in the same room around the same topic.
Yeah, I really, really like how access to those sorts of forums has improved so much, just because it doesn't matter where you are, you can come together and have those conversations.
It's true.
Thank you. And so you've tackled some challenges in terms of engagement and bringing memberships together and being able to foster those connections. Is there anything that you would have done differently through your transition to a digital platform that you would recommend that others think about if they're embarking on something similar?
The smartest thing we did in relation to our transition to Salesforce was have a dedicated project manager in-house who is interested in the technology, very capable in technology, understands the business and what we needed to bring together. So we resourced it quite explicitly around having a project manager that owned it, and we certainly endorsed her position in the organisation to be able to gather the input and the resources and the people that she needed around different parts of that implementation. So that worked really well, and I couldn't recommend that highly enough in terms of having somebody really own the project. We're only a very small not-for-profit organisation. We only have 16 staff, but even still, it was definitely worth the investment, having somebody own the project internally. We took her off other roles and backfilled her role, and meant that she could spend 100% of her time on this project. And that was great for us internally. It was great for who were our implementation partner, because it gave them a point of focus and meant that together we were able to achieve the sorts of outcomes we needed through that base.
Great, thank you. And it's really interesting to hear how having that dedicated focus has been important with that executive endorsement as well to make sure that they're able to be effective.
Yep, absolutely.
And so that person, is she still in that role, or has her role evolved since the project, I guess, has been implemented?
She continues to be a Salesforce owner inside CEW. She's not in that dedicated project role anymore. She has quite a few other things to do, but directly related to our members and membership engagement. I think one of the reasons that role was really successful was not only her personally and her skills and experience and interest in the project, but also her knowledge across the business. She was able to bring all the pieces together into the project, and that knowledge continues through to today, where she is one of the owners of it. And whenever we're having a conversation about Salesforce, she understands the implications across the business or what other pieces might need to be brought into a conversation.
Okay, so that's, I guess some organizations might think to outsource that particular role and think it's useful for, certainly can be a valid approach to have someone external come in and perform that role and then leave again. But it sounds like you found that there's been value in keeping that role ongoing and keeping the business and the technology wedded together.
She's continued as a champion of Salesforce in the business, even though her role is something quite else. In her member engagement role, she has daily interaction with the system and is really great also at encouraging and supporting others to use the system.
Okay, thank you, Susan. All right, well, just really to wrap up, I would love to know if you have any last thoughts or learnings that you'd like to share with others out there who might be looking to improve their relationship with their members.
I can't endorse strongly enough the need for a really great, reliable, relatable database. I've worked in other organisations that also rely on databases. Salesforce is one that I've done a fair bit of work with. I have worked with others that have not been as effective. Without that consistent, accurate transparent data that everybody is able to contribute to and support as a point of focus behind your relationship with an individual, then you just will not have as rich conversations. You will never replace the need for face-to-face or person-to-person, at least, conversations and connections. But if you can have those conversations on a foundation of great data, accurate data, up to date with other people's conversations, then you're going to have a richer, more rewarding conversation.
Yeah, very insightful. Thank you. Well, thank you, Susan. Really appreciate you spending time with us today, and thank you again for your investment in Salesforce and with Data Colada.
It's our pleasure. We appreciate the support from both organisations.